recognize Mason from tap dancing down the halls of Wellsbury High School, portraying the role of Hunter on Ginny and Georgia. Do I have your permission to post this episode of The Inspiration Show on social media?
Absolutely not. No, of course. Yeah, of course.
Thank you. So when did you start acting and what got you started?
Okay, so there are like three different points and answers to this. Technically, I've been acting since like I came out of the womb. My mom was a model and an actress in Taiwan. My dad was a white guy in Taiwan, so he was in commercials and stuff, and won like their not their version of American Idol, but like a big singing competition with that kind of notoriety in Taiwan. Um, and I was like a little baby model, and I did like commercials and talk show, like little baby game show things that happen in Asia, right? So technically, since I was like coming out of the womb, but then we moved to Canada when I was 3 because I was born Canadian, didn't have dual citizenship at the time. And it took me a while to find the stage, but I did a play in grade, I think it was 7, A Christmas Story with the local community theater company, Stage North. Played Schwartz, and one of the actors dropped out, so they had me fill in. And when I was done, I told my parents I want to be an actor. It was just like, it felt like the thing I was meant to do, to their horror. No, they kind of figured, because like, that's kind of what their lives were in Taiwan. And when you look at like, that's the Taiwanese part of my family, they're all in the film and TV industry, but like backstage people, but they're all storytellers in a sense. And my grandpa in on the white side, I believe he's one of the founding members of Stage North, which is
Wow.
crazy. And he was quite the actor. He was a doctor, but he was quite an actor in the local theater community himself. So it was just kind of like meant to be. I had my own theater company with my friends in high school. We won some festivals. I wrote a play, won a local theater BC festival. We kind of like made little local history. Like, it was the first time anything written, produced, acted by, directed by, entirely by teens won and went to the provincial main stage competition. It was a mediocre script, but it was like the ambition was, it's still kind of like nuts to think about. Like, we built a set in a barn, in my ex-girlfriend's barn.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, like the High School Musical couldn't source lockers for their play about high school. Our play was a satire about high school, and I sourced 17 lockers out of nowhere.
That's an accomplishment.
Yeah, it's because like the first scene that I thought of with the display is called Hallways. I'm looking at the poster in my room. The first scene I thought of was having a kid shoved in a locker and him coming out and seeing his bully struggle with bulimia, and him trying to like navigate that. And yeah, so I don't know, like that's the first time I ever wrote anything and directed. But then I went to acting school when I graduated high school, and then technically I became a professional actor. Well, normally I say like after I graduated theater school, but technically like I was paid an honorarium in my last year. So I guess it's 2016, Christmas time, 2016 is when I became a professional actor. So yeah.
It's amazing. And even though your parents did it and your family did it and you kind of fell into it, if you will, you found this love for it and you
I
made
found
it.
my own path to it too. Like, there was no nepotism. If I stayed in Taiwan, I would have been a nepo baby. I don't know if there's anything wrong with that, but I truly, like, my mom is extremely proud that like I found my way to a similar career to hers, but like on my own. She tried to help me, but like, ultimately, like in North America, she's got no connections, right? So yeah.
It's amazing. And besides your family being in the industry, would you say anything else inspired you to become an actor?
I really like Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker in The Dark Knight. I'm full on Joker cringe. People know what that is. No, I'm just like a big fan, and so one of the first things I ever saw coming to Canada was the Batman animated series. So I always had a deep admiration for Batman and that whole lore, and of course Mark Hamill's Joker. And I just remember, like, I was what, like 12 or something in 2008. And you know, just when you're that age, whatever comes out is like really big deal. That happened to be an Oscar-winning performance, and still to this day, I'll rewatch The Dark Knight just for that performance, and I'll find something new in it. I've learned about his process in creating it, like where he got the voice from, and like the whole licking lips thing is just because his lips were dry, and it's just holy crap, uh, it's just phenomenal thing. So that was the first time acting went from a hobby to like truly an art form for me. And I've seen incredible performances since then, but that one's still like my favorite movies. I've got like a tier list of five. But just out of sentimentality and respect of Heath Ledger's performance, like I think Everything Everywhere All at Once is a better film than The Dark Knight, and it's number two because the sentimentality, just for me, The Dark Knight wins every time. I've watched that movie a million times. I'll watch it a million more. It will never get old. I can almost quote. There's a point in my life where I could quote every single line.
Love that.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess that'd be the one other thing, other than legacy in my family.
It's amazing how someone's specific performance can influence you and inspire you to go out and make your own different choices as an actor and to step into so many different roles.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, I literally actually couldn't. I didn't know it was Heath Ledger playing him when I first watched it, and I didn't really know names of actors because it wasn't an art form to me then. So when I found out it's the guy from Knight's Tale, it's the Aussie. What? It doesn't even look like him. Like that is how mind blasting like that performance was to me as a kid. It was just like literal complete and utter transformation, um a complete original take on the character. Like, yeah, yeah. I've yet to witness anything as moving as an artist, as a or at least as an actor, as that. Everything Everywhere All at Once was moving, but as a diaspora with my own relationship with, like, my mom and all that, like, God, I cried and laughed and cried, and I've never cried and laughed and cried in such rapid succession before in my
Yeah.
life, like a hysteric person. And I was like almost alone when I watched that in LA, actually, in the Chinese theater, just on a Tuesday night or whatever, on a whim, and I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. Like,
Amazing when something gives you that feeling and then you go out and get to create those characters and those choices yourself. It's amazing.
yeah, yeah.
And what would you say you enjoy most about acting?
Um, Let me just have a sip of water. So I'll be honest, when I first got into acting, like in grade, when I decided I wanted to make it my career, what I told my parents was because it's easy. Because like, you just go up there and you play pretend, and like, yeah, that's true. That's kind of like, it's not that it's easy, it's that, like, like I feel like every actor is a child at heart, um, and it's just something that comes natural to us, right? So easy is a complicated thing because it's actually not easy at all. If it was that easy, everyone would do it. Um, what I really love about it is just like it's so fun to explore, um, just explore like emotions, explore situations, explore characters. It's fun to affect people. It's it's storytelling. Like it's not just acting. It's like when I write like a personal essay, I guess. Like I'm in a personal essay writing class, a creative nonfiction writing class. When I write my own screenplays, when I write music, when I'm even when I'm doing interviews, or making a YouTube video talking about something, I just enjoy the process of storytelling. Um, I don't know. I don't know. It's like a primal sort of thing, and it's like extremely human. It's not the thing that makes us human. Some people will say like storytelling is, but that's not true. Like bees storytell, how to give, like, they give directions on how to find wherever new patch of flowers. Plenty of like dolphins, maybe orcas as well. Like storytelling and tool use and whatnot, that's not what makes us human, but it's definitely there's a primal sort of deep ancient thing regarding that. And I don't know, it's just really satisfying and I love it. I love it.
Amazing. And storytelling was one of the many reasons why I started the show, because when you see actors or you see really anyone on stage or on front of a camera, like you never really get to hear the stories that they have to tell. So getting to speak with people, to have them go more in depth into their stories and who they are, it's so incredible to learn about that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I
Great.
agree.
So you portray the role of Hunter on Ginny and Georgia. What is your favorite part and most challenging part about portraying Hunter?
Favorite part is that Hunter's kind of like he embodies a lot of what I wish I was growing up. And there's a lot of, you know, there's a big part of me where I'm like I learn in this process. I learn when I play every character, be it just like factual stuff that I have to learn, like in theater school, I played Joe Pitt in Angels in America. And there's a lot about like the AIDS crisis in the 80s that I had to learn about. Um, but also with Hunter, it's more so like a lot of internal stuff where it's like, you know, he didn't have the upbringing. He has a much more privileged upbringing than I had. And it's very interesting to see like, okay, he's also a inherently half Taiwanese, half white kid. And you know, this is how his life is progressing. And you know, what's his emotional through line, and like why is what's the root of like his actions, why are they happening this way? And then I inherently, you know, just start thinking about how comparing myself when I was a teenager to what he is like. And so there's a lot of personal, a lot of interesting introspective when it comes to that. I guess more like on a technical aspect, I just like I've gotten to be able to use like damn near every skill in my repertoire. So that's also been a fun thing just as an actor. The most challenging thing about Hunter, um, I guess skill wise, it would have been the tap dance scene. Like I just wasn't physically prepared
Did
for
you
that.
tap dance before?
I did. I've got a YouTube video about that. Basically I tap danced from 5 to 10, quit because I wasn't really into it, but like the moment someone said something homophobic to me, I was like, okay, there's my excuse to quit, but I wish I didn't quit because of that. Um, then it would come up here and there for like this musical or that musical, and then in theater school you got to do it for one term, and then I
Yep.
ended up doing it in like we did 42nd Street my last year, so I was like, oh shit, I got to do it again. And
Wow,
then
yeah.
I suggested it as a joke, and it was taken seriously.
Oh, that's
In
hilarious.
Georgia, but hey, they say jump, I ask how high. Um, so yeah, but I just didn't have the conditioning, and it was like really, really last minute addition, and I didn't have tap shoes there. Like I wish I knew going in and could have that practice beforehand and could practice more than 3 times. I had to request that third session because like I'm not professional, but you know, like it still like it was technically the most difficult thing I had to do on the show, but it was also like really fun. And you know, reaction be damned. I don't really care what the
It was
reaction.
amazing. Like I said off camera, my dream is to tap dance with Mason Temple, but an interview will come first.
Like some people are really awful about it, but I mean, I gotta be honest, like it's a character, like who the hell cares? So whatever. You like it or you hate it, that's fine. You can like dislike the scene or Hunter entirely. Like that's totally okay. It's a love triangle. It's a fictional character. You can hate him to the nines. Even the TikTok videos that people send me are like, you know, that's fair game. He's not real. Like you can hate him. But and this leads into the most difficult thing about Hunter. It's not the technical aspect. It's like dealing with the
Yeah.
fan base. Like it's
100%.
just like, holy crap. I've heard everything from, you know, please come to Brazil and impregnate with 3 kids. You know, like stuff like that. I'm gonna kill myself if you don't come here and marry me. To I want to break your legs off and beat you to death with your tap shoes, you sniveling fat. You know what I mean? Like everything you can possibly imagine that's humanly possible to be said in a language. I've heard it in every language. Like
That's
like
one thing.
like can you imagine millions of people telling me to kill myself in the first season? Like
Like,
my DM requests are not functional. If you DM request me, like it's
yeah.
it's almost never gonna get, like I can't I can't navigate it. And this season, it's been a lot better. Like because of how Hunter is in this season, it's more like 50-50.
Yeah, like my thing is people and especially fans, like they're incredible. They're reasons why shows run. They're part of it, not the
Yep.
reason.
They pay the bills, they keep the lights on,
Yes,
I
but
love them.
they need to realize that you are Mason. You are not Hunter. And
It's
Hunter is written by Sarah and Deborah and the incredible writers on the show, but you have no say in it. You are Mason. You play Hunter, but it's a fictional
Mhm.
character.
That's the thing. It's like again, you can dislike Hunter even. Like it's a love triangle. You're meant to pick a side.
Oh, 100%. It's
It's
in
like
every show.
clearly weighted towards Marcus because like yeah, he's a main character. And that's also fine. That's the narrative. The narrative, anything goes. Like people characters can be imperfect. It's strange that the two biracial characters are not allowed to be imperfect, God forbid, but like Georgia can literally murder people and Marcus can climb into someone's window and ejaculate into them and about the fucking like plan B stuff like but and that's all okay, like go king or whatever, but like Hunter loves his girlfriend and oh he's got to kill himself. Like that's weird, but whatever. People can hate Hunter, but taking it out on the actors, be it me or Scott, because the whole Paul thing and
Yeah.
or like man, I saw this tweet by Alex Malari Jr. If we get a third season, I'm gonna need Netflix to provide me with bodyguards, a new identity, and remote island to hide away. I feel so bad for him because like I know what the hate is like. And I mean Cordova is just even more of a thorn in Georgia's side in this season. So he's not getting the relief that I feel like I got for this season. And I hope Scott's getting some relief too, because I feel like Paul really shows up. Um, Not that he wasn't showing up in the first season, but
Yeah.
um, like I don't like how can you really hate Paul now?
But I mean, we really have to talk about that ending before our next question because all my friends and like I saw all over TikTok, oh my God, I expected it. Like I knew it was gonna happen. Like what was your reaction when you read the script, if I may? Because like I had no clue. I didn't see it happening. Like I looked at my mom, we watched it together, and I was like,
Are
what?
we like spoiler alert moving forward, but are we talking about the rest?
Yes.
I mean, I knew it was gonna happen, right? Like I've known since season one that like
Oh,
that was
yeah.
likely the trajectory. And like when it happened, it was like, yeah. So there was like zero surprise. What surprised me was Austin running and trying
Yeah.
to catch up to his mom. That was like,
I
oh,
cried.
like, oh my God. Oh my God, Austin. I'm actually so happy for Diesel.
It was incredible.
He got a lot more to do this season and he killed it. Like everyone really killed it this season. Um, and like I told him when I saw him when we were doing press stuff, like, hey man, you got so much more to do this season and you did a really great job. I just wanted to tell you, like, I'm proud of you. And then he said some snarky comment, like he's such a he's a bastard. But I mean, like, he knows that that's just who he is. It's really funny. He actually kind of reminds me of me.
I mean, if you get a
So
season 3, there are so many things I want to see, and I'm like so excited. But I need Hunter in the musical.
okay, so I actually
You
said that in the
studied,
last
you studied
interview.
theater, so
That's the thing. Like he tap dances. Why isn't he in the musicals? Like
yeah.
I mentioned that to Sarah last time. She's like, that's a good point. So I've got a
A patriot
strong,
of the arts number 1 and 2, Sarah and Deb.
yeah. So I mean, like, I gotta be honest, like, I'm not scared to tap dance again. Like, let me know beforehand. Let me know beforehand. And like, if you want it to be corny, let's throw it in the musical. If
I'll
you want
help
it to be
you.
like,
I mean, I'm not great, but like I tap danced for a good like 4 or 5 years. I can help you.
exactly. Like, well, I mean, I just need like some time to practice like my wings and shit. You know what I mean? Like
I
I would
can't get my wings. Don't get me
I
started.
actually I could not do my wings until I think by the end of that day when we were filming, I was like, oh shit, I finally got my conditioning enough to like do them. But like I got my double pullbacks
Yes, those are my
and
favorite.
yeah, like there's so much more I could do. It at the end of the day, like tap dancing is just a medium. It came out really corny in that scene because
It was so good.
I mean that's what it was. Granted, like the intention was actually for it to be sexy. And I was like,
I love it.
I don't know, but like, whatever. I tried my best to make it sexy. Here's the thing. like that was the first time, that was the first go around, and like obviously I don't want to rock the boat. If we do it, if we do another tap dance scene, I'm gonna be a lot more vocal. There's a way to make tap dance sexy. There's a way to make tap dance very emotionally charged. There's a way to, I mean, it's just a dance form. I talked about this in the last interview, but like there's a local theater company, Electric Company Theater. And I remember seeing the show Betroffen Height. It had a worldwide tour. It's about Jonathan Young. It was written by Jonathan Young, and he performs in it. It's about how he lost his daughter in a fire and wasn't able to save her, and the depression that he went through in that. And tap dance is a large is an ongoing medium throughout the whole thing. He worked with, I believe her name is Crystal Pike, in the choreography. And there's like some very horrifying moments. There's extremely, extremely emotional moments. And I mean, it's not corny. Like there's no corn in it. And it's just like a very, I wish like I had like an archival footage I could direct people to. Maybe that exists on their website, but like, yeah, like tap dance is just a medium. Like, yes, the way we did it was very corny. And despite them wanting to make it sexy, like, but yeah, I mean, I have my own ideas for like tap dances. I just don't have the time, space, energy, or funding to really put into it. But like, do you know the 21 Pilots song "Holding On to
Yeah.
You"?
Yeah.
So ever since I heard that song in like 2012, I've had this like idea of like a tap sequence to it of like I was very depressed at that time, and I've healed a lot from that depression, but that still lingers inside deep down. And like there's a whole thing I could do with that, and a little bit of point in there too. And um also like Childish Gambino 3005. There's also in my theater school, like I was kind of juggling between a couple ideas for a tap sequence, and because you gotta do like a performance, and that was the runner-up, doing a tap sequence to that song. But like I'm sitting on a bench and there's a teddy bear. It's like similar to the music video, but like I get up and I do like tap stuff and some movement stuff. Yeah. It'd be cool to explore something like that. I don't know if that's really in the vein of the show, but like that's definitely possible if like tap is just a medium, it's just a tool in a repertoire. So
And like you said, it's so beautiful because it can do so many things. Like it can be corny and funny, like you did on the show, if you will, and it can be so serious and tell such beautiful stories, like you were talking about in that play. And it's just
absolutely.
amazing to see what it can do.
It's just percussion, and like you can mix it with like hip hop and stuff. So then you got like percussion, but then you got like more movement than just the legs. Because like a lot of people, I think when they think of tap dance, it's just like you just think of like a time step or a buffalo
Yep.
shuffle, and it's like, yeah, that's like what the
Those are
corny
the basics. Yeah.
origins. But like doesn't mean you have to just stay on the balls of your feet. You can move around. You can do all sorts of things. And yeah, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Tap.
It's special. Yeah. And do you feel that you and Hunter share any similarities? And is there anything in particular that stands out to you that makes Hunter such a special character to play?
I serenaded girls in high school. I
Tell me
100% was that guy,
everything.
but I did that to like kind of embarrass them. Um, I was 100% like that kind of dude. I'll be honest, like I went through a lot of racism and homophobia and violence growing up in the school system. It got to a point where like like there wasn't a single, it wasn't just like I was being called the F slur every day. It was every time I walked in the hallway. Um, and that really did weigh on me. So I wish I was as positive and not problematic as Hunter, but I was definitely a product of my environment. And there's a lot of regret I have about that, and a lot of growth I've had to do, to be totally honest. Um, so I wish I could say I'm similar to Hunter in that regard, but I'm not. Hunter is who I kind of wish I was, um, for that kind of thing. But at the core of it, like Hunter's whole Taiwanese thing, and like especially his through line, at least for me as an actor, of not being enough. I mean, that's from me. I told that to Sarah, Deb, and a couple producers when at our first like dinner when they were getting to know me, and that immediately made its way into the character. He was actually Korean to begin with, but now he's Taiwanese because I'm Taiwanese. So instead of Cho, his last name's Chen, and that's my mom's maiden name.
That's so.
Um, yeah, it's also like the second most common Taiwanese name out there, so it's kind of like my Taiwanese name is actually like my surname is Tan, which is a whole different thing. That was I don't actually relate to anyone with the last name Tan. I'm not of that people, of the Chen people, but they chose Temple to phonetically turn into Tan. It's a complicated thing, and unfortunately, it's legal now. So like I could try to change it, but that just takes so much time, and I digress. But Hunter, yeah, like the big gesture stuff. I wouldn't tap dance down the hallway, but I would certainly start singing. And yeah, those are the similarities and the differences.
And when you first read for Hunter, what would you say really attracted you to this role, and what was going through your mind then compared to now after playing the character for 2 seasons?
I love when people ask me this question because I got to be honest, it was the audition for the week. As a biracial actor in the year was 2019, I took whatever auditions people were giving me because, like, my first audition was for the gay black kid in To All the Boys Who that I ever loved or whatever. Like,
Oh, to all the boys I've loved before you.
because like we all like at that era, any person of color was just like shoved into the same wild card position. And like, despite me being half white, like I still have only auditioned for two white characters, and one of them I literally had to call out the casting director, saying like, why is there an adjacent white character? Because I can't speak Spanish and I don't see how Los Angeles is at, a loss for Latino actors. I'm not Latino, like no habla español. So yeah, things have changed now, but at the time, like Hunter was just another audition. I was like, the only thing that went through my mind was, well, two things. Number one, oh, thank God it's not like a black or indigenous character, like a character from an experience that I literally don't can't do, shouldn't even be considered for. That doesn't happen anymore. That didn't happen last year for me. That's not true, but it didn't happen racially. It did happen where I was asked to audition for several non-binary characters and one very problematic character who I'm not going to elaborate on, but it was basically like it was regarding trans being the transgender experience, and it was like not authentic, let's just say, and very problematic, and I called them out in the audition, which I don't know. I'll probably never be seen again by those casting directors, but c'est la vie. I'm just kind of sick and tired of, oh, you're weird, so we're gonna give you the outcast outlier sort of like non-traditional roles, and it's like, no, just look for authenticity. Okay, digression aside, I was thankful that it's something I could be authentic about. I play guitar and I'm Asian. Cool. And the other thing I was thinking about was, this is a Netflix audition. I know that they're casting for Avatar: The Last Airbender at some point. So I've got a ponytail. I've planned for this moment since I found that out. So time to do an audition with a ponytail. And shockingly, to my surprise, I never got an audition for Sokka or Zuko, but I booked Hunter Chen, and Hunter Chen became
Yes,
Hunter Chen. So that was the most bizarre turn of events in my life. But
we left
yeah,
love 110.
I was just trying to get it out there to Netflix people or casting that, yeah, I look like Sokka or Zuko. And inadvertently, the ponytail I have is now associated with the character that, Hunter, like,
Love him. Love Hunter.
it's crazy. It's a crazy world. It's crazy life out there. And yeah, real chapped, I never got a chance for Zuko or Sokka, but not only am I like not indigenous, and they went with, I believe they went with an indigenous actor for Sokka, so like good. And with Zuko, pretty sure that's the actor that played young Shang-Chi. Yeah, there's no way I'm beating him. Like I can do the swords thing for the Blue Spirit. I actually learned that all throughout the first
No
season
way.
of Ginny and Georgia. No kidding. I was like, there's no way my gong fu can get to the level of like other people out there. But maybe the sword thing, that's such a niche ability. So I focused on that. Shout out to my Sifu, Tony, Iron Tony out in Toronto. He actually is also Raymond's Sifu. Raymond works out with him. But yeah, unfortunately, I never even got a shot for that. I got to audition for Jet, or a character that was very clearly Jet because they changed the names for secrecy, but
Right. Yeah, because Netflix does that. I've heard. Yeah.
didn't get a call back.
Okay.
C'est la vie. You
And
can't
what-
win them all.
Yeah.
Jet would have been also cool. Like I wanted Zuko, Jet, and then like I don't know, like the cabbage guy.
Would you
But
ever write spin-offs? 'Cause I know you said like you're a writer. Would you ever like not the fanfic kind of thing, but like would you ever write those kinds
I
of
will
things?
write anything that anyone hires me for at this point. Like I've got my own show about what it was like for me growing up. That's very, very idiosyncratic. I've heard that I'm trying to sell. I don't know if you want to read it, I can send it to you. Like
Please do.
it's like part Fargo, part Mean Girls, part Death Note.
If you could take that, I'd love to like be a part of it. Like that'd be so cool. It
I
sounds
mean, like if I won the lottery, I could afford to fund like the pilot, I guess. And the problem with it is that like I show what it was like for me growing up. Like I don't hold back on the slurs that I faced. I don't hold back on the violence. Um, there's also a very, and this is one part that's hard to sell to like some people. Not everyone gets it, but there's like a almost Tyler Durden like character called the Teller, who haunts the main character Christian. Um, and that becomes a bigger thing. Like I've got 4 seasons planned. Like it becomes a bigger thing as seasons progress because we find out like it's not just Christian, the main character, that has this like sort of alter ego, which and we never really understand what it is until like the final episode in the 4th season. Like I can
I love
literally write
that.
4 seasons of 10 episodes for all of it. I can write 40 episodes of this shit, but like we learn like the sister has one, and but we see like the progression, and it's this thing called ink bitch because she gets bullied about the stuff. We see like his friends got one. In the 3rd season we meet someone with borderline personality disorder. We never really know what it is, but that's what her version of that is, and it's the goddess Venus. And these two characters fall, like Christian and that character, fall in love, but they're essentially metaphors for their mental health are at odds in like this manipulation game. And it's this whole crazy thing. And it's a very common thing in anime though, like Bleach, Death Note with Ryuk, like the alter ego thing. The closest thing I can really tell people that are like part of the industry is like, okay, it's like Fight Club, like Tyler Durden. But I mean, in reality, I don't know if you know what internal family systems is. It's a style of therapy. It's just a subpersonality of the main character, and you could also call it the inner critic, slash inner parent, and it's at odds with the main character. And yeah, but then there's stuff about the Russian mafia. There's stuff about, there's external threats. There's a whole world. It's craziness. Had good response from a couple production companies. There were 2 that one didn't respond and one didn't get it, but there were 4 that were like, we just don't have the capacity to take on another project. I'm like,
Yeah.
so close, they love it, but and they get it, and it's just like, oh man.
But I applaud you so much for writing that and for putting your experiences on paper, because you don't really get that so much. And to tell your own personal story, it's an experience like no other.
It's such a weird story. Like I tell people just like offhand, like not even about the show, and people, there's always 2 reactions. I put this in the pitch document. There's 2 reactions I always get. Wow, that's really fucked up, and that would make a great TV show. So I was like, fuck it, I'll make Sarah Lampert told me you should just like write that as a TV show. So I did. And
Collaboration with you and Sarah, I'd love that.
I
That'd be
would
so
love to
cool.
have
Oh my
Sarah
God.
write that. Like I gotta be honest, like and Ways Glass also writes. I I won't spoil what's going on with her. You should get an interview with her and ask her about what she's writing. That's for her to say. But I would get like, man, it would be so cool to be able to collab creatively with all these minds. And like I got a dream to work with like I think his name is Hiro Murai. Like he don't know how to pronounce it, but he does a lot of the Atlanta episodes. He works with Donald Glover a lot. Donald Glover is basically like, he is the modern day Renaissance man, and like that's my goal, not to be like literally like him, but to be able to like do meaningful work in all sorts of mediums. And God, I wish. One of my favorite shows is Atlanta, and that again, that tonally kind of helped inspire Half and Half as well. Um, it'd be a dream to make that. Just putting that out there in the universe in this interview. It'd be a dream to make Half and Half. If someone's watching this and wants to take a read, like I'll send it to any producer. Like, I think there's a niche for it in Canadian media, but also I think in global media. A little bit of Breaking Bad, a little bit of Mean Girls, a little bit of
Please send
anime
me everything you
psychodrama.
ever write, please.
Yeah, I will. I know. Write your email in the chat, and I'll just I can send it to you. I'm not scared of showing anyone Half and Half. Um, yeah.
Yeah, so you grew up in Fort St. John and studied theater at the Studio 58 Acting Conservatory out of Langara College. And you got to bring in many different talents into the show, such as tap dance, singing, and playing instruments. So what was it like bringing your studies and your other talents into your experience with the show and Hunter as a character?
Um, really awesome. Like how often do I get to tap dance in anything? So it's cool that I just get to put that in my demo reel right off the top of my career. The singing and dancing thing, like I kind of always, growing up doing musical theater, I actually loathed doing musical theater, but like there's not many other opportunities in Fort St. John, right? Like you do the school musical and whatever community theater things are available. Just kind of grew up with the mentality of like, okay, you're more marketable if you're a triple threat. There's like, I got an aunt who like you led the choir often, and lots of cousins that did like dancing. Once, like Jack Baradell, he's a cousin of mine. He does a ton of acting as well. He does a lot of dancing. He's been doing like, I think his 40s now. Holy shit. He's like he was in something that Keegan Key did with Apple TV. I think it's like Schmigadoom or whatever. I forget what it's called.
Oh,
But yeah, it was like a pretty big thing that he was doing in Vancouver. So like dance was always like a big part of the family. And yeah, so like just having that, it's always been in the repertoire, but and it's nice to be able to use it. It's not really my focus. Like me personally, I'm very passionate about acting, but also more about broader storytelling, like writing. Want a hand on the wheel, I want to direct one day.
that'd be
And
awesome.
baby steps though. And music was always sort of a hobby that happened to be helpful in acting. I always figured that it would take something regarding singing, dancing, and playing guitar to get me a role, not to undercut my acting ability, but there's a lot of good actors out there. And it's not often like it's one in a million actor gets like to be picked up, to be placed onto the new spotlight. And so many people want to do this. There are more talented people than me that graduated from my program, my term, but it's like a lot of this is luck, right? So you maximize your chances of success if you have more niche abilities. And I happen to just be good enough at these other things that, boom, at the end of the day, like, I don't know if I talked about it in this interview or another interview, but it came down to me and one other actor
Oh no,
uh,
we with this.
for Hunter, a local guy. And this is what I've been told. They ultimately, like, the other guy, he's a better singer and guitar player than me, but I was the better actor apparently, or at least I brought a better performance, and I fit what they were looking for in that regard better. So they chose me, which is like awesome. It like, feel bad for that guy, but at the same time, like, you gotta act more than you gotta play guitar or sing in this. So it's good like, if there's any like aspiring actors out there, like what you should take away from that is, um even if you're like mediocre at something, like keep up with it, because it might make the difference at the end of the day. And if you're acting, it's actually different if you're a musical. Like singing ability, I'd say is more important than tops all of it when it comes to, because your audio, you're more forgiving visually than you are audibly.
Mhm.
So I'd say that the priorities for that one there. But in acting, yeah, like be a really good actor though.
Yeah, and that takes us right into our next question. So you got to sing two songs on Ginny and Georgia, Child's Play and I Can Barely Breathe. Can you share with us what it was like recording these songs and kind of take us behind the scenes on that experience?
Scary just because I'm not super comfortable hearing my own voice, and I'm pretty insecure about that, to be totally honest. I don't have stage fright when it comes to acting. And when it comes to stage stuff, like since it happens and then it's done, like whatever. But permanent recording of my voice out there, it's scary. It's taken a long time to get used to that. But there were incredible people along the way. The first season, I wish I had more time with it, but I mean, we weren't Ginny and Georgia yet. We were just
Yeah.
some budget show that Netflix had. So, we did the best with what we could. And I didn't have a negative experience with that. I still loved it. But with Child's Play, I had a vocal coach, Bob Korf. I got to work with Lily and Ben, and they were great. Like I grew so much as an artist in that process. I was so nervous and like legitimately like shaking. Like I don't know if they could see it in the Zoom like footage of me like at the booth, but like my kind of legs were shaking. Um and to hear the final product, like I Can Barely Breathe is kind of out of my range. So to me, it sounds out of my range. And I don't know, like maybe it doesn't sound like that to other people. To my family that knows me, it also sounds out of my range. I'm doing my best, but Child's Play is in my range. They transposed it and it sounds legit. I'm
I
like,
loved it. It was so good.
wow, like yeah, like it was one hell of a confidence boost. And I ended up in my major at uni doing a songwriting class, and having to sing and record with my own mixing abilities, which is very hit and miss. But I had to do it all by myself, and like to hear my voice and get normalized to like, yeah, you know what, like you did this, and you're not a shitty singer. You're a baritone. So
Mhm.
like work with what you're given. You're not Michael Jackson, but don't shit on yourself anymore, man. Like
You did
you
it. It was amazing.
did it. And like I hear it, I'm like, this sounds like a legit song, like, and a legit person singing it. So I'm really happy about that. Yeah.
It was amazing. Do you have a favorite memory, scene, and storyline from the show?
Yeah, it's the Oppression Olympics scene. And I know that's a controversial thing to say. Um, kind of don't care about holding back my opinion anymore about it though. The long and short of it though is that I think people misinterpret what the scene is about. I think when that clip um circulated, it took the show out of context. It took the scene out of context. Um, there's a syntax to the show, obviously. So seeing that clip without knowing what the show is like, I mean, that happens in the 8th episode. There's a big build up. So you become very familiar with the language of how people speak. Um, to have that not there, yeah, this clip sounds absurd. And to not know what leads us there. It's not like these are two 15-year-olds, or I guess Ginny's 16. I don't know if Hunter's 16 yet, but these are two teenagers. They're not sociology majors, and they're both very hurt, and they get in a fight. And I've never heard teenagers fight, and it wasn't as cringy as that. Like that, it wasn't, like that is that. And even the line Oppression Olympics, like I've read a lot of things about that scene. I've read like damn near every Reddit comment and Twitter thread about it. Um, I guess what I'll say is like, yes, the term Oppression Olympics has been used over and over again to delegitimize the experiences of people of color. That's what Hunter's saying. Ginny's delegitimizing his experience because he doesn't agree with her. Should he agree with her? She didn't write an essay, but like the core of what she's saying is, why isn't my boyfriend supporting me in my moment of pain and like I'm being victimized by this person, and like she is being victimized by by getting. And his response to that is, why don't you just like ignore it? And that's his privilege, obviously, but that doesn't mean he's not racialized either. And when Ginny takes away his Asianness by saying like, I speak better Mandarin than you, and your favorite food is cheeseburgers, as if it should be noodles. You know what I mean? Like she first like tries to appeal to, but you're Taiwanese, don't you get it? And then when he has a different opinion and a different approach, she just strips him of his Asianness and his being racialized, and that hurts him. So he does it back. Should he? No, we're not celebrating that. We're not promoting that he should. It's a mistake. These characters make mistakes. It's weird that the two biracial characters aren't allowed to make mistakes, but white Georgia is allowed to kill people, literally murder characters, and Marcus is allowed to do what he does in the first episode and be shitty about, cheat on Padma and all that. Like, that's okay. It's okay to cheat on, like they're held to a different standard than Hunter and Ginny were. And Hunter, when he says oppression Olympics, let's go, like that's meant to be like why are you delegitimizing my experience? You want to play that game? Fine, let's play that game. He shouldn't have played that game. It's the toxic thing to argue like that, but he's a teenager. He's 16 or 15. Like, I don't know, maybe things have changed with Gen Z. Like maybe things are really, really, they're having these really deep, like conversations that I would assume a sociology major would have, but they're just 16. They only know their own experiences. Like Ginny doesn't know Hunter's experience, and he barely gets into it. Like he talks about the Taiwan thing, which is rapidly aging, unfortunately, well. But I mean, like, we don't really talk about what Hunter's experience is like in Wellsbury. I mean, it's just him and Nora that are the only two Asians, and they're both halfies. Do we even know that Nora's a halfie? Like, we don't really get into that identity. The show has a lot of things to juggle with. Like, I don't really blame Netflix, because like Hunter's also not a main character, and like, the biracial experience, it's not fully covered by even Ginny's storyline, because the banana experience, as me and a lot of other half Asian, half white people call it, or use that term, banana, is different. I mean, that's where I came to the character from. This whole, when he talks about how he has this pressure of not feeling good enough and having to be perfect all the time. I mean, that's just straight from me. Like, Sarah and Deb know this about me, and I've said this because I'm biracial, I'm othered by both sides. And like obscene racism in Fort St. John and a pandemic Vancouver, it was the first time I felt that kind of racism here too. And in Taiwan, like the only people that actually consider me Asian is the only people that consider me white is when I go to Taiwan and then like seeking their community, and I'm othered as a foreigner, as white. Sometimes like I even had a cousin like jokingly say like, I could see you as Korean, just because like, I guess that means because there's a lot of skin whitening and plastic surgery or whatever to look different. Like, it's a very complicated, different experience, and we don't really get into that. And I don't know, like I'm not trying to criticize Netflix for that either, because again, only so much time, and maybe this isn't the show or place for that. Greenlight my show, but because I talk about it there. But yeah, that scene meant a lot, and Tony and I personally contributed to it.
That's what I heard, and it's incredible that you guys did that.
Yeah, we warned everyone, like our experiences told us that like the moment we talk about this, we will be shut down. And we were really grateful and thankful that Netflix is daring to do this. And I even said, like, I'm not sure you guys like realize like how much this is going to mean to people, but like also like there are people that like just don't, it's like an allergic reaction or something to hear that, even us half white people are victims of white supremacy. We're not trying to say like we have it worse or whatever. Again, I'm not trying to play an oppression Olympics or whatever. I'm not trying to delegitimize another person's experiences or even compare them. I'm just trying to say that I have one. And like, you know, there's people have used racial slurs on me, and I've been assaulted in high school, and, you know, dealt with threats of violence my entire life. It's really disheartening to get that response, you know, like I was heartbroken when like what I was worried about came true. Like it felt like most people didn't get it. A lot of people that we were trying to reach, like they got it. Like we got messages from mixed people all around the world, and they got it. They were in tears because like every mixed person is pretty much has accepted that they will never be represented because they've lived their entire life being othered, being put on the other side, and when they go to the other culture being othered. So then like they're stuck in between, and you know, it's just this shared exclusion and isolation that we feel, and it is rooted in racism. um you know, colorism is a separate thing, and I definitely, like, I will always say, like, I am not, like, I'm practically a white guy when you do that, and like, you know, I'm paler than a lot of white people I know. um but I mean, that doesn't change the fact that like the moment someone sees my eyes, like if they're racist, they just, they don't see the difference. Like white supremacy isn't inclusive. um Colorism is colorism, and that's a pretty understandable scale the way it is. But also, like, I remember like hearing stuff about how Asians are adjacent to white people, which, and so they don't face racism. I'm just like, first of all, like, Asian does not, like, a pale Japanese man does not represent the experiences of all Asian people, because number one, even among Japanese people, there are brown Japanese people. Like my roommate Terrence is like South Chinese. He's dark, like he's brown. Desi folks, South Asian folks, you know, India and Pakistan, Bangladesh, like Polynesians, like, and also like that statement also like really reaffirms or reinforces the model minority stereotype, where it's like, no, like we face our own kinds of racism. And I would think like after 2020, I don't know, do people not watch the news? Like our elders in Chinatowns all over the world getting assaulted as if they're the reason. Like, yeah, I'm about to delve into a whole different thing there, but it's the oppression Olympic scene. Just because as a mixed person, I've never had representation, and it's not like people might assume like, oh, Jackie Chan Adventures and Pokemon. No, I like those shows, but I didn't feel represented in them because I'm not Asian to Asian people, and so I didn't feel, you know, like I didn't belong to that culture. And similarly, it's not like I was like, oh, Hannah Montana and Zach and Cody, yeah, I'm white. Like, no, I never in my life felt white. But of all things, like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, just because like it's about a fish out of water, that I resonated with. You know what I mean? So there's like nothing really out there for mixed people. And that scene meant a lot. That was a chance for me to work on something that's not only groundbreaking because it's never been done before, but like be a part of what I wish I had growing up, be a part of maybe like, I guess I hate the word trailblazing because it feels like I'm trying to pat myself on the back, but it's like, you know, there were mixed people. Long story of it is there are mixed kids that like reached out, and it meant a lot to them. And that's all I really cared about. So yeah.
It's amazing that you contributed to that scene yourself, you and Tony, both your experiences, and representation matters so much. And I truly believe it's the greatest experience in the world when you see yourself represented on TV and like out of the roles that all that you've stepped into. Is there one that you feel specifically has taught you a life lesson that you carry with you?
That I did with Hunter, or like a role in general that I've seen.
Any role?
It's taught me a life lesson. I mean, like Hunter's definitely taught me the life lesson and value of like, you know, um it's like not being a dick. like like yeah, I don't know. Like when I approach Hunter and work, you know, with this character, um inherently there are some, I'll bring myself to it, but it comes like, it's like augmented with the character, but in that comes a internal comparison. And um you know when we wrapped Ginny and Georgia, I got back to Vancouver. That's when I actually got to start doing some very much needed therapy. I had been waiting. This is about to get to a really dark place, but I've attempted to kill myself 3 times in my life. The third time happened like a month or two before I got the audition for Ginny and Georgia. And then by some miracle, like, I'm not religious, but like, it's like the universe was like, hey, don't do that and do this. And I booked something, and it happened to be like the antithesis of what I was in high school. This kid that didn't grow up with the violence that I grew up with, and who subsequently is different. It's like I've said in other interviews, he's kind of what I wish I could have been. And I was waiting for mental health support. It was going to be like at minimum 6 months. I happened to have booked Ginny and Georgia to kind of get me to that point, by some miracle of God, the universe, or whatever. So when we were done, I got to do my first session. I've been working on myself ever since. And Hunter has been a large part of, like, I happen to play this character that is just so, like, healthy. like the way he deals with his breakup with Ginny and being cheated on, or at least his head, like Abby tells him he's been cheated on. He's not told that technically he wasn't. So he truly believes that he's been cheated on, and still he chooses love, and his love for Ginny over a desire for revenge or any kind of toxic whatever. I was diagnosed with ADHD last year, and it's put into context a lot of my behaviors growing up. I've definitely been a toxic person, and had a lot to learn and grow. And this season with Hunter even was just like, I wish this is how I dealt with it. Like, the desire to want to be like, he's given that sort of, in that last episode, spoiler alert, in that last episode where he finds out that Marcus and Ginny broke up. You see that little glimmer of hope, and then he talks to Marcus, and then basically in that conversation, like, this is all subtext, this isn't actually said, so I hope people got it, but like, at least for me as the actor, the through line for me was like, of course he wants to be with Ginny, but he's already come to accept that, like, he wants her to be happy more than he wants to be with her. The wanting to be with her thing is, like, is that insecurity or whatever? Like if she's happier with someone else, accept that. And if you truly love someone, like, let them be happy. And that's what he comes to. And he hears that opportunity. He wants to do something about that. But instead, when he talks to Marcus, like, it really helps reaffirm to him that, like, this has nothing to do with Hunter. Like, it's not that she doesn't like Hunter or whatever. It's just she felt a connection with this guy, and it didn't work out, but you know what? It's going to be okay. And when he comforts what was, like, I guess his arch nemesis or whatever in the first season or whatever, like, there's a bigger picture here, and he realizes the bigger picture, and it's like, no, this Ginny's special, and I love her, and I get it, man, and you're going to be okay. And when he says that to him, he also is kind of saying to himself, like, you're okay too, man. We're not gonna force anything. We're not gonna beg for love. We're not gonna, we're gonna respect ourselves and respect Ginny and respect, we're all just kids and we're all trying to figure it out, right? And then by the hand of the storyteller, he sits back down with Padma, and the camera just lingers on a little bit too long. So maybe that's him finding out, like, being guided by whatever narrative hands that be to where he should be, or where his next step is, or whatever. But yeah, I kind of wish, I'll say Hunter is an inspiration. I kind of wish there was that. He inspires me to be a more emotionally healthy person, but also just more self-aware and caring person, putting that love before or those negative feelings, especially as like an ADHD person. I have a hard time with emotional regulation, and but having to play Hunter has always been this reminder of, like, you know, you play a fictional character that looks just like you, but does it, and does it in a way that I wish he did. So it's a good reminder.
And then looking back